Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is do not get good at the wrong things. Do not get good at the wrong things. And we'll get into where that's coming from and why this topic exists momentarily. Before we do that, let me tell everybody, I send out a daily motivation text message free of charge every single day. To everyone who is in my text community, this is a message that is guaranteed to help you start your day being focused, sharp, and on point. If that sounds like something that you want, here's all you got to do. Text me at this number, 305-384-6894. And every morning when that text goes out, you shall receive it. You'll know that that's the text because it will have a hashtag at the bottom that says daily motivation. I just sent the text out today, as a matter of fact, as a side note, and someone responded to it and said, well, you shouldn't say whatever I said in the daily motivation text. They said you shouldn't say that to me because, you know, you must have misread what I wrote, or it's not your place to say that to me. And I had to let this person know, like, you see that hashtag that says daily motivation? I'm not talking to you. I sent this to everyone who's in the text community. So this person was taking it as if I was personally saying something to them when I was not. But anyway, any of you who's in my text community, when you see the daily motivation hashtag at the bottom, all right, I'm not talking to you personally. I'm sending it to you, but I'm sending it to everybody. So that's not a personal attack on you. But if you take anything I say in my daily motivation text as a personal attack, you don't belong in my community. I just talked about that in yesterday's episode. So anyway, with all that said, make sure you get the text message. Here's the number. Did I give you the number? Number is 305-384-6894 to get that daily motivation text every single day. And again, when you see the hashtag, that's the text that goes to everyone, all right? And secondly, workonyourgameuniversity.com. That is where you take your next step in working with me directly. That is where you can get access to the most important frameworks we have around mindset, strategy, systems, and execution. Not only that, not only access to the frameworks, but also, because I talk about those things here on the show all the time, also your way to get coached directly by me. If you would like me to help you get a clear strategy, get some clear organization and a process and a system, and hold you accountable for getting done what you need to get done in your business and in your life. Listen, let me promise you something. No one has ever come through a program being coached by me and regretted it. Nobody ever has ever regretted coming through a program of mine and being coached by me. And if you want proof of that, and you should want proof, go to alldreallday.com and you can see feedback from thousands. No, I'm not exaggerating. Thousands of people who have worked with me. Go to alldreallday.com, you can see it. And there's more feedback. We hadn't even put all up on that site yet. But anyway, go there. And then when you're done looking at that, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com and you can work with me directly on those things that I just said. Again, that is the only place you can work with me direct. That's the only place that you need to go to take your next step. Workonyourgameuniversity.com. Now, getting into today's topic, don't get good at the wrong things. The reason why this is a subject is because getting good at the wrong things is a trap that many people fall into, especially now that we have the internet, because the internet makes it very easy to do a whole lot of things that you probably couldn't do if you had to do everything manually. If you couldn't do it all virtually, you had to physically go and do stuff and go to places and actually talk to people live in person. You couldn't do as much as you can do from the comfort of your own couch / via the internet. So the internet allows us to do a lot of stuff. The problem is sometimes we get really good at doing a lot of stuff that is not even moving the needle forward, is not even necessary for us to be doing. So you want to make sure you're not doing stuff that is failing to move you closer to where you would like to be. That's why we got to be vigilant about this concept. So let's get into it, what I mean, and go deeper into this. Point number one, today's topic once again is don't get good at the wrong things. Number one, getting good at the wrong stuff is usually a result of working with inaccurate formulas and good sounding ideas that feel good but do not actually produce results. Now, we talked about both of these things in the past here on the show. We talked about inaccurate formulas in episode number 2163, the 4 worst inaccurate formulas that you are following. And we talked about doing things that sound good but do not actually work in episode number 25 23 just a week or two ago. So you have to be very careful that you're not operating by an inaccurate formula, because an inaccurate formula is still a formula. It still is, you do this, this, and this, you get this outcome. So it sounds like it may work, but it doesn't actually work. And then you have things that you may believe or think that will produce an outcome, but do not. And they need to be exposed, uncovered, and deleted, or altered, severely altered. And again, we just talked about that in episode 25, 23. That's why it's so important to have second and third and eighth sets of eyes around you who can and will notice when you are making these errors of investments and catch them before you go too far in the wrong direction. All right, this is why I have Work on Your Game University. It's not because I necessarily am all-knowing and I have all the answers to the questions that you have right now, because frankly, most of the questions that you have right now are not even the questions that need to be answered. It's actually that some of your questions need to be replaced with better quality questions. And that's what a good coach should always do. A good coach, a good trainer, a good expert, guide, whatever you want to call that person, whatever title they give themselves, they should be taking the questions that you have and saying, okay, I get your question, I understand why you're asking it, but let me give you a better quality question that will actually help you get further along the path of where you're trying to go. That's what I do inside the university, amongst many other things. So this is why you got to catch yourself. This is why you need a second set of eyes around you. And this is why every high level performer you can name in any space in life has second sets of eyes around them. They're not doing everything just off of their own ability and talent and hard work, even though they may have a plethora of those things. Just being good and talented and hard working alone is not enough. Again, look at I was just looking on an ESPN app and I saw that there's a golf tournament happening now. I believe it is the Masters. Let me check. I believe it's the Masters tournament. All right, something just started playing. I don't even know what this is.
Well, when I first got started there,
I don't even know what this is.
I didn't even know I was getting started. So I came home from my first year in college. I bought, I think it was like a 1972 Buick Skylark. I bought it for $50. I was taxpaying college. I drove around Baltimore. But I went to college in Indiana, Pennsylvania. I had to take a big car, so I sold it. I didn't even realize, man, it's $50. That was my first entrepreneur investment. And then I started buying low rating cars, that was my first entrepreneur. My first real legitimate business was back in 1985. And I started selling insurance and investments in a multi-level company called Baldwin in America. And the interesting thing about that is I did not make my first sale until April of 1987. In the business, doing presentations, working, and everybody was saying, right? And I was terrible. And so I lasted really long. I think that's a really valuable lesson for people. Most people like to be in the day, microwaves, instant this.
Alright, so I don't even know why that started playing. It's something that shouldn't even been open. I don't know how it got open. Anyway, what I was saying was I was looking on the ESPN app and now I see it. Tiger Woods, yes, this is Tiger Woods. He is playing at the Masters, and Tiger Woods is really good at what he does. But Tiger Woods has a coach who helps him with his body, helps him with his golf stroke, helps him with staying in shape. He probably has people around him for his nutrition and what he's putting in his body, as do all your other favorite athletes in every other sport, as do your favorite musicians. They have coaches. Your favorite business people have coaches. Your favorite fill in the blank with whatever you like to do in your spare time outside of work, they have coaches. And fill in the blank with the people who are the best at what you do professionally, they have coaching. And if you're one of the best at what you do professionally, guess what? You got a coach. So I think that proves my point, that everyone who performs at a high level has at least a second set of eyes, maybe a third, fourth, and fifth set of eyes around them who can catch it before you go too far in the wrong direction and lose your status as one of the best at what you do. So anything you're working on consistently, and the only way you get good at anything is to work on it consistently, make sure you're holding your processes accountable for actually producing results. It's not that you're just doing stuff and saying that you're doing it, but your processes need to be held accountable the same way that the people need to get held accountable. Did everybody hear what I just said there? You don't just hold the people accountable, because a lot of times I talk to people, especially people who come to me based on the type of stuff that I talk about. A lot of people say, well, Dre, I need accountability because I'm just not following through on the things I need to do. And that is a good thing. Every human being needs accountability. At the same time, your process, your strategy, your system, your game plan, that needs to be held accountable too, because sometimes you are doing everything you're supposed to do. It's just you have a poor strategy. You got a garbage strategy. So if you are very consistent with a garbage strategy, you will not achieve your outcome. And you might think incorrectly that there's something wrong with you when there's nothing wrong with you. It's just you got a bad strategy. So sometimes your challenge may be A, but sometimes your challenge may be B, and sometimes it's A and B. So this is why you want to have other people around you who can help you decipher what the actual problem is. If you think about it, this is what a good doctor does or a good dentist does. You go to the doctor or your dentist and you tell them where it hurts, where the problem is. The doctor or the dentist looks into the situation, and based on their knowledge and insight, they can tell you, okay, here's the actual problem. Here's what we need to address. And maybe something that you never even considered. Maybe it's something that you have considered, but you are unqualified to fix it. But the doctor or dentist is qualified. It's the same thing that a good coach does. This is why you got to have these people around you. So you need to hold your processes and your people accountable for producing results. If you cannot draw a line between the process and the result, maybe you're getting good at the wrong things. And what I mean by the line, that means it shouldn't even be between. It's from the process to the result. So if I do this process, I get this result. If you cannot draw that line from I do this or these things and I get these outcomes, and you can't draw that clear line and it doesn't make clear sense, then there may be something up with your process that you need to adjust. And if you're working hard at the same time that you're noticing this, maybe you're working hard at things that are actually not working. So you're working hard, but you're working hard at stuff that's not going to get you where you want to be. So what kind of things are we talking about here? Let's talk about that. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is do not get good at the wrong things. Number 2, stuff that feels productive but is not effective. Now there's a difference between those two words. Stuff that feels productive but is not effective. Now, what is the difference between productivity and effectiveness? Productivity means you are producing. That's all it means. To be productive means you are producing. There are a lot of things that you can produce, but some of them you might not even want. You might not even want some of the things that you can actually produce. All right, there have been times that I remember in my days playing basketball, and I'm not talking about on YouTube, I'm talking about my professional career as a basketball player. There were times where I was being very productive in, let's say I was reaching out to try to find my next agent. There were times, because I've worked with a bunch of different agents over the course of my career, and there were times I was very productively reaching out to a whole bunch of agents because I was trying to find an agent who would represent me to help me get my next contract. But my process was not effective because none of those agents were getting back to me, or I wasn't getting an agent to agree to represent me, so I wasn't really getting the outcome that I wanted. So you can be very productive at something but not very effective at it. Or has any of you ever hired a personal trainer to help you work out in the gym after you had tried for months to work out by yourself in the gym? Any of you ever done that before? I'm sure plenty of you have done it. Why would you do that? You did that because you were very productive at going to the gym. You produced sweat. I did a workout. You produced time in the gym, but it was not effective. You were not getting the outcome that you wanted. Therefore, you realize, okay, I'm very productive, but this thing doesn't work. See, productive at things that don't work, getting good at things that don't work. Let me find someone who can help me be effective, which meant getting the result. And again, that's the difference between the two words. Productive means you are producing something. And again, there are a lot of things you can produce. There are some things you can produce that you don't even want. You can produce excuses. You can produce mediocre results. You can produce poor outcomes. Just because you are producing something does not mean you are moving yourself forward, nor does it mean you are getting where you want to be. So, any of you who has the habit of saying, hey, I want to make sure that I'm productive today, be careful with that. Doesn't mean you're wrong to want to be productive. It's just a matter of what are you being productive at. Make sure you're being productive at a proven process that actually produces the result that you want. Now, if you have a proven process and you want to be productive at executing your process, that's a good idea. Now, if you're trying to be productive but you're not sure your process works, you got to be careful. Maybe you want to instead try to be effective, which means you're actually getting to an outcome. So what does effectiveness mean? Effectiveness is a relative term as opposed to productive. Productive is a term that's pretty absolute. You can measure whether you're being productive or not, and you can choose how much is productive, but effectiveness is very relative because effectiveness must be measured against your desired outcome. So you can't say something's effective or not unless you know what the outcome is. See, I could say I'm being very productive at recording episodes of this show. I think I am pretty productive at this. I have personally recorded over 2,500 episodes of this show. According to what I got in front of me, this is episode number 2,534. Unless we shake things up, that should be the number of this episode. 2,534 days in a row this show has published. Sometimes people ask me, Jared, do you record them once every single day or do you do it in batch? Answer is I do it in batch. I don't know if that was a secret to any of you, but I will record multiple episodes. I never record one episode at a time, hardly ever. So today I'll record multiple episodes. The point is every single day something has come out, because since 2016, when this show launched, I have been productive at recording the show. But effectiveness is different. Now, how do I know if recording this show is effective? Well, we can't answer that in a vacuum. Only way we can answer the question of if my recording of the show is effective is if you know what I deem to be a desired outcome from this show's existence. If my only desired outcome is just to say that I'll record a show and put it out every day, then yes, it's effective. But that's not my only desired outcome. Another desired outcome is I'm going to make sure I'm giving you valuable material that you can actually use. I would need to hear from my audience to know if I'm actually doing that or not. And I do through my, one way is through my text message community. People text me. A lot of you who come here, a lot of people who come to my text community are listeners of this show. A lot of people hear me mention the text community number on the show, then you text me from listening to that. Some people from YouTube, etc. Then there are many people who come through my university or are interested in working with me, and I ask them, well, how'd you find out about me? How'd you hear about me? Or how do you, at this point in your life, maybe you heard about me a long time ago, but how do you normally consume my material? Where do you normally follow my stuff? Are you getting my emails? Are you following me on Instagram? Are you watching me on YouTube? Are you listening to the show? A lot of people say, well, I listen to the podcast. That's the main way that I consume your material. They might follow me in other places, but we know in those other places, you know, sometimes your stuff doesn't even show up in the feed. Like, you might follow me on Instagram, but you never see my posts. Facebook, the same thing. YouTube, it can be the same thing. But in the podcasting app, it doesn't usually work that way. Usually people who listen to the show listen to it pretty consistently. The whole point is effectiveness must be measured against a desired result. Productivity, there's no necessarily desired result. It's just a measure of, it's a quantitative measure, quantity measure, productivity. Effectiveness is qualitative, which means there must be something to measure it against. What is the desired outcome? Then when you know what the outcome is, you measure your work against how much of an effect, i.e. effectiveness, that work has on the achievement of the stated outcome. Everybody catch what I said there? Did I say it too fast? That's what makes something effective. You need two pieces of data to measure effectiveness. And that's pretty much it. Productivity only requires one piece of data, which is why being productive is easier than being effective. So again, those of you who aim for productivity in your workday, it's fine as long as you know that being productive at this thing leads to that outcome. And those of you who don't know, you should aim instead for effectiveness. And these words matter, and the verbiage matters. This is why I'm such a stickler about the definitions of words and making sure I'm explaining to you all how I'm using certain words so that you understand them, because the way that you're talking to yourself and what you expect of yourself is going to determine what actions you take. And we know that actions lead to the outcomes. And what kind of business are we in again, folks? A results-based business, performance and results-based business. That's why all of these things matter and all of it connects. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is do not get good at the wrong things. Here's the key question to ask yourself. Here it is. What is the most important outcome in each aspect of my life right now? This is a very important question that every one of you, I don't care what you do for a living, you could be in limbo right now just trying to figure out what you want to do for a living. You could be a student. You can be a full-time employee. You can be an entrepreneur. You can be an entrepreneur with a side hustle. You could be a person who has like 5 different things going at the same time, and none of them is really the full-time thing. You kind of just full-time hustle, do everything. Maybe you're a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad. Maybe you're retired. What else could you be? I think I pretty much covered it all. All right. Key question you got to ask yourself is, what's my most important outcome in each aspect of my life right now? Once you have the answers, everything you do should be measured against how well that activity gets you closer to that outcome. That's effectiveness. Shall I say that one again? Once you have the answers of what's important, everything you do needs to be measured against how well it gets you closer to the outcome that you said you wanted to reach. This is how you determine effectiveness. No other way. It is not based on your gut instinct. It is not based on how you feel. It is not based on what side of the bed you woke up on today. It is based on a clear measure. We talked about this in a few episodes here of this show. I'll give you a couple of them. Episode number 2494, Data Over Drama. Also, episode number 2141, The Data Decides. If you recognize that none of your current actions are moving you towards your now defined measure of effectiveness, here's what you need to do. You need to stop, drop, and roll. All right, stop. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Go get yourself some help. That's what you need to do. Go get yourself some help, because the actions that you're taking right now are not getting you where you want to go. This is by your definition. This is not my definition. This is your definition. I would suggest you get this help immediately, because we're talking about your life here. We're not talking about some little side project that if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, so what? We're talking about your life here. If this is important to you, I would suggest you get help ASAP. All right, and this is why we have Work on Your Game University. I'll tell you about that again momentarily. Let me recap today's class first, which is don't get good at the wrong things. This is a trap that many people fall into, again, especially in the internet world, because it's very easy to do a whole bunch of that might actually be doing, excuse me, effectively nothing for you. So let's talk about, even though it may feel good because you're doing stuff, but it's not taking you anywhere. Point number one. This is usually a result of working with inaccurate formulas and good sounding ideas that feel good but do not actually produce results. This is why you get other people around you who can check you and say, hey, I see that you're doing that and you're doing a lot of it, but it's not really doing anything for you, so how about we do something different? Number two, stuff that feels productive but is not effective. Productive means you are doing a lot of a thing. It is quantitative. You can measure the amount. Effectiveness means it is getting you towards your desired outcome. It is qualitative. It is based on 2 data points. What you want and how close your thing is getting you to it. You need both data points to measure effectiveness. So if you don't have goals, you cannot be effective by definition. Number 3, here's the key question to ask yourself. What is my most important outcome in each aspect of my life? Once you have the answers, everything you do needs to be measured against how well it gets you closer to that outcome. This is how you determine effectiveness. If you recognize that none of your actions are getting you towards your determined effectiveness, go get yourself some help. Why would you waste time? And your life is made up of time. Understand, folks, when you run out of time, your life is over. They call that death. All right, they usually schedule a funeral when you run out of time, okay? You should never, ever, ever do anything that you know is knowingly wasting time in your life. You should never knowingly add time to a situation, because the more time you add to a situation, eventually you will have no time left to add. And then it's over. Like, the whole game's over. All right, no more listening to podcasts, no more text messages, it's over. So please do not waste time. Do not allow time to go by knowing that there's a change that needs to happen in your life. All right, this procrastination that people pick up as a habit by adding time to a situation is a disrespect of the life, the short period of life that you have here in this world. Please make the most of what you have. With all that said, text me so you can get the daily motivation text that I send out free every morning. Here's my number, 305-384-6894. And secondly, workonyourgameuniversity.com. If you would like some help and you believe I can help you, and I'm pretty sure I can help you, listen to the show, I can help you. All right, and that is getting your mind in the right place so we can take you where you need to go. The game plan, which is the strategy, the systems, which is how do you get these results over and over again consistently, and the execution and accountability. How do you make sure that you are showing up and doing what you're supposed to do and getting things done and getting to the outcomes you said you wanted to get to, and making sure your processes are just as accountable as you are? All that, workonyourgameuniversity.com. I'll tell you what the next steps are once you get over to that page, and we'll go from there. Work on your game. Dre all day.